This is a video that I put together of highlights from my trip down to the Porsche Driving Center in Atlanta, Georgia. They have courses where you can sign up for driving different cars. It's like 90 minutes that you get of track time and other modules they call them. I signed up to drive the 911 and the GT3. This is me trying to put in the address into the Mazda 6 I own, which has a confusing UI at best. And this is my son trying to, I don't know, I think he said he wanted to see the salt and pepper in my beard. Okay, great. So, off we go.
Off we go.
You get to the center, it's right next to the Atlanta airport, and they've got one Porsche drive. They even have an exit off of 75 for it. It's a beautiful building from the outside, and we came into the garage. You have to go through a security gate to get in, and when we got to the garage, there was a Spider here, and it's being recharged from the electrical rechargers that are hanging on the wall. This car, the 918, they made 918 of them. The last one completed production in June of 2015, so you can't buy them anymore. I don't know what particular use this one was, but it was sitting here. I imagine it belonged to Porsche. It's also a mystery as to what exact color this is. This is the second floor. Like from the garage, you take an elevator up to the second floor here, where you're going to meet your driving coach and whatnot. And they have another Spider right in the lobby here. And where the rear view mirrors are on that car are actually cameras that show you what's behind what the mirrors would normally show you, though, on screens. And this right here is a model of the track that you're going to ride on, with the various areas that you can take the cars on. This turntable is the low friction circle that's out there. So it's a fairly large track, and you can see it right out here beyond the fence where those people are standing. You can also see airplanes landing at the Atlanta airport. There goes a big one. So it's pretty noisy out there too from the airplanes. They actually, if you believe it or not, would drown out the sound of the cars driving on the track down below. But this is also their North American headquarters. This is a GT3 that's parked out down the hallway from that Spider. This is my son Grant trying to figure out if he could sit in it. And the seat didn't have any automated adjustment, and he couldn't get in to put his weight on the seat to push it back, so he couldn't get in it. But they just have this car here. And like I said, it's a GT3 RS, and there's a roll bar in the back that I didn't catch with the camera, so it's totally not suited for driving on the street. Before we met the driver coach, we were just standing out here, and you can see that yellow and white car down there are the Turbo and GT3 that you could drive later in the day.
I don't think that's a GT3. GT3 has a wing. Oh, there you go. You're right. Yeah, so maybe I'm driving one of those two.
The people on the track, I guess, what you might have noticed is that the track's pretty wet because it had been raining pretty much incessantly, and it had stopped long enough that we could drive. And these people on the track now are probably people from the noon show.
You can see the airplanes taking off or landing.
And here I am with my driving coach after we talked. His name is Jimmy Reed. So they meet you up at the cafe that was up on that landing we were standing at prior. Talk about what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, and get an idea about your experience. My experience of driving a performance car was like 0. So they come down and they give you a general overview about the whole car and how you should sit in it and whatnot. This car is a turbo, but it also has been, you can see the yellow brake pads, it's been equipped with the ceramic brakes that are, say, standard on a Turbo S. And these brakes are amazingly, work just amazingly well. So, you sat here for quite a while I explained to you how to hold your hands on the wheel and various other things that they were going to do. Like, for instance, he'll grab the wheel while you're driving to show you the correct way to do things. And obviously he doesn't want you to just let go of the wheel or fight you. Here we're heading onto the track, and there's a blind spot right here on the track. Ignore my son's inability to hold a camera still. And so we had to wait there for these cars to clear. There's actually 3 of them. And then there's a yellow GT3. There it goes. Now it's clear. So off we go. What you're seeing there is the friction plate. Okay, I'm coming down here. There's a 1.2 mile track, if you will. It's not a racetrack. It's designed to look like a country road. So it's got a lot of bends and a lot of hills and dips in it. So it simulates driving on a back road somewhere, as opposed to, say, a racetrack, like what they have at the Barber racetrack. And you can see that car spinning out on a tread plate. What you're doing here, I'm doing the slalom. And it's actually amazing. This car has 4-wheel steering. So you can go pretty fast through this.
Oh, damn, Dad.
And here's a launch. You do a launch, and then I'll slam the brakes on. You can see how quickly it stops. I certainly hit 80 miles an hour or higher before I slammed the brakes on. Here I'm going to go over the kick plate. It kicks your rear tire, sends you into a spin, and you're supposed to drive through it.
So slow.
The surface there is epoxy, and then they wet it with water. So it's pretty much like driving on ice.
Yeah, we've been living here 17.
What you're seeing here is what they call a low friction circle, and this simulates driving on black ice. And you're, I guess, drifting. On my son's camera, but you can see my car spinning out. But the idea is that you're following a line on the concrete there, and you drive at a constant speed and don't spin out. And while it looks sort of easy right there, it's actually pretty hard to do. And the idea is you just gas the engine and steer and back off the gas. You never hit the brake. And the idea is just to keep going at this point 20 miles an hour. Here I was putting away the turbo, and I'm going to get in the GT3. This is another white turbo that was on the field. You can see he has the red brakes, so he does not have the ceramic brakes on that particular turbo. Okay, I'm on GT3, I got over the kick plate. This one I do an okay job. I think that in this case, believe it or not, the computers are helping me avoid wrecking. At this point we turned all the computers off, and you can see how they were helping me, and I totally wipe out here. Now this time no computers, and it doesn't take long before you learn how to handle the car, and this is actually done perfectly. That's exactly what it should look like when you do it right. He gave me a high five in the car after I did this, so I guess that he was happier than I was. I don't know. Here I'm going to launch the GT3. It's a little different than a turbo. It slides around on the ground before it takes off. But it also has the ceramic brakes on it, so you can see how fast it stops. So the turbo, when you do the launch, it's just like a rocket ship. Whereas when you launch the GT3, it actually hesitates and the back end shifts a little bit before it takes off. But both cars with the ceramic brakes stop amazingly well, and it sounds like all hell is breaking loose as you're slamming the brakes on, and you figure you're tearing the rotors in half or something, but you're actually not, and you're not damaging the car at all. So you just basically slam the brakes on as hard as you humanly can do it, and the car just takes over with the anti-lock brake and whatnot. You get out of the car, and all you can smell is asbestos. So I don't know. Most situations you would tend to think that you were doing some serious damage to your automobile, but with these Porsches, you're not, and you can do it over and over again. The other thing to realize too is that on the GT3 the tires are, as the driver said, barely street legal, so they're very slippery. And what's going on at this point is it's starting to get wet out. The rain came back in, so it's going to be raining sort of. You can see my wipers going on. So the track was getting a lot slicker, and this car was more inclined to spin out than say the turbo was. If you look at the top of the screen here, you could see that there's rain coming down, even though it doesn't look that the track doesn't look that wet. You can see the rain there.
Where do they go when they go back behind there?
So basically on this track, what he would do
like
is just try to make sure you're taking all the turns correctly. You're spinning the wheel in a just a gradual way. You're not jerking the wheel at all as you go around the curves. The general technique is you brake a little bit on entry into any curve and steer through it, and then full throttle on the way out of the turn. Most of the time you're not looking at a speedometer. I really don't know how fast I was going. You're just listening to the engine and using that to judge how the car is doing. You can see now the track's a lot wetter.
And then the week before it was like 30 degrees while we were playing.
This was about the end of the 90 minutes. And there is the final approach where I'm going to take the car off the track, and you can see straight back here is where you enter the little row of cars.
Guess he's done.
That's it.